Guess who we have here today? We have Renae, the podcast lady. What's up, Renae?
What's up, everybody? I'm the podcast lady now. Is that my?
You like that? You like that?
I don't know. Do I like it? I don't know.
Well,
I like the Dave girl.
Yeah, I like that too. Obviously, we're both in the Dave Matthews Band. You can see Dave Matthews Band, and on her screen, you can see Dave Matthews Band. But today, we're not really, I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about Dave, but we're going to be talking about how to start up a podcast that's successful. And Renae has done that exact same thing.
Oh, God.
With respect to my favorite band, Dave Matthews Band.
Well, thank you for all of those kind words. I don't know what the definition of successful is, but I'm having a blast and I feel like people are enjoying it. So that's all one could ask for, right?
I know people are enjoying it. I've watched it myself. So, I know a lot of our people out there. We have probably now after April 15th, we'll have about 12,000 people in our database. They're all going to be getting this, as we call them, vast casts. So, and this episode is going to be specifically, as I mentioned, about podcasts. So, and they're all entrepreneurs. Everyone, I know some of those people out there want to hear about podcasts, what it's like to start one, what are the logistics, maybe if they can monetize it. I don't know if you want to go into that. So let's, this is going to be very casual. We're just going to be talking to talk, basically.
Yeah. Well, I think that podcasts really are a couple of things right now. They're still kind of new to us that are in our 40s. We're like, what the hell is a podcast? How do I access that? Unless you're just super techie. Most people I know are not listening to podcasts. Which is funny that I would start one, and we'll get into why I did, because that makes no sense. Why would you start something that you know nothing about? Well, I think so there's a couple of things. Yes, starting a podcast is very trendy right now, but starting a podcast is also a great way to reach people. It's a great marketing tool. And also it's something that's very inexpensive to do as far as marketing whatever it is that you are trying to speak out. And so, again, I knew nothing about podcasting when I started mine, but I am I push myself. I make myself learn things. I know that I can learn things. And I think it's important to stay relevant with tech. And just if you're going to do anything in the world, I think it's just important to know what the future looks like. And so podcasting is definitely something that is very now, but it also, I see it going a long way into the future because it allows everyone, for the most part, no matter what, a voice, right? You can be heard, whatever topic it is that you are wanting to talk about. It just gives us a really good, solid platform. And, no one may listen to it. And that's okay, because that's exactly what I said when I started my podcast. I was like, look, I'm starting it kind of as a creative outlet for me. It was very something I needed, but also, I totally just lost my train of thought. I don't even know what I just totally lost my train of thought.
Why you started it, kind of you were doing it as a creative outlet.
And I said, if no one ever listens to it, that's okay, because it's been good for me. And I've continued saying that the whole time. I have zero expectations because for me, it is not a job. Now, do I sometimes work 40 hours a week on it? Yes. Yeah. Oh God, wow. Yes. Because, one of the big things about podcasting, not only do you have to have a topic, right? You have to have the ability to put that into words, but you've also got to do some type of planning, right? You can't talk about the exact same thing every episode. So you've got to kind of plan that out. How can we break this down? Can we have guests? And that can be a lot of work to find those people, to make sure that your topics are what people want to hear, because that is also something about podcasts that I've realized is you really want to stay relevant with the times, because that is what people are wanting to hear about right now. And so, in saying all of that, it is a lot of work. And I think the bigger a podcast gets, the more work it requires. But the more work you want to pour into it too, because for me, it's my baby, right? Like, I love it. I love this community so much. The Dave Matthews Band has been something that's been part of my life for a long time. And so, I pour a lot of myself into it, but very, just all out of love. Right. So, I think that if you're wanting to start a podcast, there are so many ways that you can learn how to do that. Thank God there are tools like YouTube, right? Where we can learn to do anything. My husband breaks it out so often to learn little things like, okay, my dryer's not working correctly. what can I do to fix it, right? Like you can look anything up on YouTube. It's such a great learning tool for just about anything. Now, is all the information correct? No, but you could just have to kind of use your best judgment to find that. So that is what I did. I really kind of dug in and learned and was like, what exactly is a podcast? Who can I reach? Can I say anything, right? Are there rules behind this? And so it's just been a great tool. But I also had a friend, this is so random, but I also had a friend, very close friend, who had just started a podcast. So for me, it was kind of right in front of me, like, oh, I don't know that I've ever would have come to this on my own. I don't know. But she started a podcast, and I knew her well enough to know if she can start a podcast. Not in a negative way, but we're both, okay, background story. I'm a nurse. She's a nurse. So we had similar, like, we're just similar type people. And so I knew that if she could do it, I could figure it out too, because as far as like tech background, kind of the same, right? So that would have been my biggest fear, is like, what do I need to know in order to start a podcast, right? And I think that would be everyone's question, is like, what, how, what, when, where, all the things. And does it cost money, right? That's probably one of the big questions too. Does this cost money? The answer is, and you can give your answer too, does your podcast cost you money?
Well, we have labor because my employees, but I'm going to say just in general, no. I'll say no, relatively speaking to all our other activities. Yeah, it costs money, but relative to all our activities, no, it's actually cheap. But more than anything, it's a labor of love for me. But anyway.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely a labor of love. And so yeah, how much does it cost? And you can find these things. There's so many different ways to start a podcast. You can start a podcast and then submit, and I'm not technical, so I'm not going to be able to like break this down really fine, but there are ways that you can shoot out your podcast to, say, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon. Like you can do it by yourself, or there are platforms that can help you with that. And so for me, that is what I use. I use a platform called Buzzsprout. It was what my girlfriend was using when she started her podcast. But what that does is I pay such a minimal fee. It is like $10 a month, hand to God. And they take all of my information and push it out to every platform. And I don't have to do that, which is good because I have 4 children. I work full time. Like I don't have time to do everything, right? And so this was such a simple, like, no-brainer for me. $10 a month and you're going to do a lot of the work. Great. But what also it does, which is just super valuable for a podcaster, is learning, am I reaching anyone? Now, while that wasn't important to me, I think curiosity got the best of me. Like, is anyone listening? And if they are, where the hell are they, right? And so for Buzzsprout allows me to not only see how many downloads I've had, because when one person listens to it, that's considered one download. It keeps up with how many downloads I have in general, but then also specifics like how many downloads each episode has had. So I can see what are my stronger ones, what are my weaker ones, and which is a great way to adjust, maybe like, ooh, talk less about this or talk more about this, right? It just kind of gives you some sweet ideas. But then also, where are these people? And it's so funny for me. I started this with zero expectations, but somehow my podcast has reached around the world. But what I'm talking about is not just an Americana thing, right? Like what I'm talking about, the fans of the Dave Matthews Band, is a worldwide thing, right? And so I didn't expect that. But then also, oh yeah, there are fans all over the world. It's not just an American thing. It's not just the United States. And so that's kind of how I started, was on Buzzsprout. I did actually go to this is hilarious, a podcast conference, which they do have. Buzzsprout was one of the, I guess, the people that were the sponsors. And so I went, and I think at that time I had less than 10 episodes. So very, very new. And I'll be honest, I felt like I didn't belong there, right? Because everyone else had like 100 or more, like they were established podcasters. So for me, it was such a just a whole different world of thinking. But what it has done for me it's definitely helped me to learn more, to learn what I am capable of. And again, this is not why I started a podcast, but it's helped me grow. It's helped me learn how to communicate with others, because there is a lot of that, right? Not only are you talking to people, but you have to reach out to them before, right? And schedule things. And so it really does push you to kind of just do more outside of, whatever it is that you do day to day. And it's also a lot of fun, right? If you pick a topic that you love, I mean, I'm a talker in general. So if you talk about things I like, I really become a talker, right? And so podcasting has been, I think, just so much fun, because I enjoy talking, but I enjoy talking with other people the most, right? Like I don't ever want to have a lot of episodes where it's just me talking. That's boring to me, right? And I don't know if anyone shares in that feeling, but like I really like to hear different perspectives. And that's kind of what I'm doing on my show, is just a different person every single time that's just giving their thoughts, right? And so again, this has just been a blast, but I think anyone can start a podcast and you can do really well. There are great ways to make money in podcasting. Have I done that? No, I don't make any money. But again, that's not what it was about. It was never about that. But based on downloads, I believe if you have a high enough number, then that's when you become eligible to take on ads and things like that, where you can gain money. And then there's also...
That's a low threshold, by the way. I think in some cases, some people can make money doing that. That's not my deal, but I think in some cases at a very low threshold, you could start making ads and compensating yourself as a result.
For sure. And then there are obviously other ways, asking if you know people that own businesses that, your listeners may be great customers, that are a great base for them, ask them to sponsor your show, ask them, hey, I'll put 10 commercials, whatever. You can work your own deals. Really, you can kind of do whatever you want. One thing that I did do, and I think that this is important, and I'd love to hear your take on this. Again, I know nothing about podcasting. I'm a nurse. I just keep saying that because I want you to know when you're listening to this that like I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, pretty much. And I still don't, right?
That's cool, because you've potentially made some mistakes, so you've learned along the way.
Yes,
so I think it's cool, you know what I mean?
For sure. Again, this has just been like such a learning curve for me, but I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, what were we going to say?
What was I going to say?
I don't know. I was wondering. Yeah. Well, how about that? Okay, well, and what I would say, by the way, I think podcasting is going to be even more important with the advent of AI, because artificial intelligence, because more and more people, and there's going to be some fakesters out there. And I think this shows your personality. Plus, I think you could break up the content into visual and audio so simple, and for social media. So it'll make a huge difference to an entrepreneur who's out there thinking about, expanding their brand. I think it's going to be the only way to go potentially going forward.
It really is a great way. And it's such a creative outlet. If people enjoy discovering different ways to market yourself or market your business, I mean, this really is a whole different way. Does it take time? Well, I guess that just depends on what your resources are, right? Like you just said, you have a team of people that help you with different things. That is a beautiful story. Not everyone has that ability. So you just have to take into account, like, okay, creating a podcast, if I wanted to do really well, I have to invest a lot of my time, which is valuable, right? Because that takes us away from XYZ or whatever. And so it can be a lot of work, but again, it can just be an amazing way to preach a message to a lot of people that you may have never reached otherwise, right? Because podcasts really are, they're growing. They are growing. People are enjoying listening to others, but also what I've heard is people enjoy hearing non-famous, just regular people talking about something that they're either passionate about, they're really good at, they're experts in, right? Like whatever you're wanting to hear. If you want to hear a good true crime, like anything you can think of, there is a podcast about it. And I love that, because it's like going into the library looking for your favorite book and finding stuff you never even knew existed. And so there is so much growth for a podcast. So I can't encourage people enough. If this sounds like your gig and it sounds like something you could benefit from, just explore it. It really is a low cost way, but higher time, but a low cost way to get material out that maybe you couldn't in different ways.
Yep. And you mentioned Buzzsprout, by the way. That's BUZZSPROUT.com. And the two founders are good guys. They're really good guys, and they've really done a lot for the community of podcasting in general. There's also Anchor FM that actually is now Spotify podcasters. There's Fusebox. .com. There's a number of resources out there, just like you mentioned. So, what about the hardware? I see you have an earpiece or earphones. So let's talk about that. What are some of the specifics that you're using as far as material and equipment?
Yeah, what kind of equipment would you have to be a podcaster? And honestly, there really is no requirements, but it does become all about sound, right? Because let's remember, everyone is listening to us, right? Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure that our voice is clear and able to block out any background noises, any interference. So again, I've kind of learned as I went. I think I started out with just a very basic mic that I got off Amazon, and I probably literally Googled podcast microphone. I had no idea if this was a good or bad one, but I got it, and that's what I started with. And then I thought, I wanted to be more mobile with my show just because we're busy. I want to be able to do it from anywhere, which was not a good idea for me, but we'll go into that in a minute. So I would do things like using my AirPods. That was kind of a bad idea. I really did lose quality of sound. And so with many recommendations, I do have a more, not professional, I don't want to use that word, but it's definitely better quality mic, lighting, and headphones. I never wanted to use headphones, but now that I use them on the regular, I'm like, oh, I understand why people do it, right? It really does work. And then just things like filters, for me, as I speak, sometimes there's, I don't know. I think we all have little things in our speech that bother us or whatever. And so filters can kind of help to get that out. But also a lot of people use editing, right? We can edit the sound of our voice to sound different ways. And so there's a lot of things. For me, starting a podcast, that was the struggle. Is I hated, and maybe I don't know how you feel about it. Let's talk about that. How do you feel when you listen to yourself back?
I absolutely hate it. But the way I look at it, I can't change it really. I guess I can filter a little bit, but it is what it is,
Right, it is. And that is still the hardest hurdle for me. Well, maybe not the hardest, but one of them is listening back to myself, because I don't want to listen to it, but I also have to, right? Because I'm putting this out for the world to hear, and I need to make sure that after it's edited, that every piece is perfect before it goes out. And so that's something else that I did that I didn't really expect to do, was hire an editor. At some point I thought, well, I'm going to have to just admit the fact that I can't figure this out. And that's okay. We're not all meant to be editors, right? We're not all meant to know how to do all of this. And I was okay with that. So for me, I reached out to my community of Dave Matthews Band fans, because number one, I knew that I could find somebody that knew sound and how to edit, but also I really wanted them to dig the content. I wanted them to believe in what I was doing, right? Because I didn't want someone to edit it just to edit it. There are companies out there that will do that, but I wanted to do it with someone that I knew, that I trusted, and that would help me achieve, my goals. And so I did reach out to the community, found someone. He's been editing my show for a while. And so he does both the audio for the podcast, but then when we synced up, he was like, you should definitely put your podcast on YouTube, which is something you think, why should I do that? Well, because in order to get in front of everyone, you have to remember that not everyone is a listener. Some people are very visual, and I am one of those people. And until it comes to watching me, and then I'm like, shut that off. But so we jumped onto YouTube. So he does both sides. He does the editing of the audio, and then he does all the visuals. So he does the YouTube side. So now we've started recording everything we do, which for me is the fucking nightmare, if I'm being completely honest. We all hate watching ourselves, and then you watch yourself and you're like, why am I doing that with my hands? Or why do I sound like, there's so many opportunities to just knock yourself down. But again, we have to remember, if we want to get our content in front of people, we have to be able to do it all the way around, to our listeners and to the people that want to watch it. So, and also
you had a YouTube. I mean, I didn't even know that. Is that new?
Yeah.
That must be new.
So
Is
I
that
think we
new?
started early 2023. Yes, I know we did because
I didn't even know that.
traveling for 2024, everything was available on YouTube, which I thought was super important only because of what I was talking about. So I was going during the summer when the Dave Matthews Band was touring. I somehow found the time, energy, and money to go to 24 shows in
Nice work.
2023.
Nice work. I
So
like
what
it.
I did with that, though, I made it all about the podcast. Did I enjoy it? Well, of course I did, but I made it into work. So what I did was start recording venues. That way
Yeah.
other Dave Matthews Band fans could go onto my YouTube channel and not only hear, because hearing stuff when you're talking about venues is not going to work. You need to be able to see it. Recording what the parking lot looks like. What does parking look like? Are there hotels near the venue? What does the venue look like? Do we want to be in the lawn? Do we want to be in the pit? Do we want to be in seats? I thought that was useful information because like that's the things I want to know when I'm
Mhm.
visiting a new place. And so we just really use the YouTube side in a different way. Everything is available both ways, but
Mhm.
you know, it really was valuable for the things I was talking about. And I can't imagine that going both ways wouldn't be valuable for really any topic if we remember that a lot of people are visual.
Yep, they've changed it. Like YouTube right now, I think in December of 2023, made it so you could basically automatically use your podcast RSS feed to YouTube. So even ours right now, ours isn't visual yet. It's not visual, but because at least you could see automatically do it. So there's that little blue screen that kind of pops out at you.
Oh yeah.
Automatically, I believe at least for us, that's the case. I'm pretty sure that's the case. And why wouldn't you do it? Because then you see a visual and an audio, just like you're saying. It adds
Exactly.
value, and you should do a video in general because you
It does
get
add
more
value.
eyeballs.
And
You're saying, I totally agree.
right. And for me, the YouTube side didn't cost any extra money, right? Like,
Right.
because YouTube is a free tool for us to use. Obviously, you can pay and do all the things, right? But for me, it was just another free tool to tell the story that I'm trying to tell, which is honestly a very visual story. So that's
Mm-hmm.
something that my guests do when they come on the show is they send me videos, pictures, and then we put that together with the sound and it creates this beautiful like memory, not only for us to share, but for them in the future, right? I always joke that like when we're 80, this podcast is going to be so fun to listen
Yeah.
to remember everything that
Remember.
we may
Yeah.
have forgotten, right? That moment that you lost your mind because, you know, your favorite band played this song. Well, I'm going to be able to relive that just by listening or watching. And so, you know, there's a lot of beautiful things that can come from a podcast. And so, yeah, I cannot encourage people enough. If you're thinking about it, really dig into it, watch all of those YouTube videos that are free for us to watch, and listen to other podcasts about starting podcasts, because I can guarantee you there's probably 1,000 of those.
A lot of them. There's no doubt about that. So speaking of starting your podcast, I remember when you started, or I think I remember when you started. So obviously, it's important for people to hear about a podcast. Otherwise, you'll potentially just be talking alone, which is fine. But
Sure.
anyway, that being said, how did you start marketing? Because I know you seem to really throw it out there on Facebook a lot, if I remember correctly, when you started out. So
Yeah.
how else did you get the word out besides Buzzsprout?
It literally is for me a word of mouth thing, and knowing where my I hate to say this because it's not a business, but knowing where your listeners are, knowing where your market
Mm.
is, right? And so if you can identify, I speak to a very small amount of people. If you know nothing about the Dave Matthews Band, just know that we always joke that there's only 35,000 of us, right? Fans of this band. And so I knew going into this that my listener, I'm homing into a very small amount of people, but I do know where those people are, right? And so that's where I knew to push this, but also I had to with my podcast. I had to put it out into the universe for everyone to see, and I have to continually do that because my podcast doesn't work without other people, right? Because my podcast
Mm-hmm.
is not about me, and I've already told my story. And so it is super important that not only I continue to keep pushing out the information, but then, of course, my guests as well in the past, they start pushing out the information, right? And so with time, it really does start to just roll on its own. And I'm a very impatient person. I'm sure that a lot of people can identify with being impatient. I'm extremely impatient. I push myself extremely hard. That is just the person that I am. And so I struggled struggled in the first year going, why is this not working? Why are my numbers not moving? I'm doing everything I know to do, but it takes time. It takes time to build an audience, because I didn't realize this, but people say that when they listen to a podcast, it's almost like a relationship. They have to form some kind of trust or interest in that person to want to listen on, right? So in order to build that trust, in order to get in front of them enough times to where they want to listen to you, that's a hard game. It's a hard game, but it only works through time, unless you have a platform before you start the podcast, right? Like if you've already got a following, if you already have customers that want to hear everything you say, obviously it's going to be a lot easier for you. But I started with zero of that. I knew there were other fans, but how do I get to those people? And so it's just taken time. But again, this was such a labor of love that I plan to do this forever. I mean, or until I cannot physically do it any longer, because there are so many amazing stories. And I believe that we live in a world right now that needs good stories, that needs those heartfelt stories, just as a reminder that there are still really good things happening and there are still really amazing people out there. And so I hope to be spreading that story for a very long time. And whether there's growth behind this podcast or not, to me, that's irrelevant. I'm not here to make money. I'm here to tell what is happening. And I never heard anyone else tell this particular story. So I just, again, it's just a labor of love.
Yeah, so wait a minute. So hold on. Let's go back to the 40 hours. By the way, it's called the space between. So wait a minute. Let's talk about that, because that's a lot of time. We do it. Ours is every day, or it's going to be every day, 5 days a week, by the way. But it's going to be truncated, some smaller or shorter episodes with a few longer ones with guests. But generally, it's 5 days a week. So wait a minute. Let me hear that 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
Whoa,
yeah.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot, but it's a lot of communication. And a lot of what I do behind the scenes is building relationships, right? Getting to know these people, because they have to be comfortable with you before they're going to get on a recording with you, right? So it's just a lot of building relationships, which is something I enjoy doing. And I'm speaking to people who have a very common interest. And so when you talk about things that you both enjoy, there's a lot of time. And so as the show has gotten bigger, there are definitely more emails. There are definitely more in Facebook Messenger, Instagram, DMs, like all of the ways that we put ourselves out there, TikTok. It really, if you want to work this and do the best that you can, you also have to be checking all of your emails. You have to be replying. You have to be making those phone calls. I have had weeks where I record 5 episodes after I go to work. I'll go to work from 8 to 5, record at 7, and then do it all again the next day. And so, there are a lot of weeks that I spend a lot of time on this. And, that is something that you have to kind of watch, because even though I love this so much, I do have to remember that, this isn't fun for my husband, right?
Is he
he's like, hey, he met Dave when he met me. Not that he wasn't aware. He's my age. He was aware. He just was never really introduced to them. And sometimes it takes that. He was definitely more like Chris Cornell, just kind of a different side. Not bad, because I love Chris Cornell. Amazing. I wish that he were still here putting on amazing music. But he met Dave when he met me. And so and he knew from the get-go that when he married me, he kind of married into this.
Into the
Wait, it was like a non-negotiable.
How long have you guys been together or married, or what?
We've been married 5 years. And it's funny because it's so crazy. Obviously when we started dating and when we got married, yes, he knew I was a Dave fanatic. But did I know to what degree it was going to get pushed to, right? Because if nothing else, this podcast has made me fall in love more with the band, which is maybe not what he wanted.
Yeah, I get it.
So yeah. But it's been beautiful. But yeah, it does require time. If I'm sure each podcast topic requires very different things. But for me and the way that I want to do this, I even continue with these relationships after they're off my show, after their show's been, you know, on air for 3 months. I'm still talking about them because these people are not just my guests. They are my family. And that's something about, you know, an insider word, I guess, if you will, for the Dave Matthews Band is the fan group really is just a large group of people that have like interests, but we just really do want to spread the word of love and peace and that music heals. And so, yeah, for me, it's just been a lot of work, but it's been every single second of it I've loved. Well, I will not say every single second, because again, it is a lot of work. And those nights where I'm up going, I just want to sleep right now. You know, those moments weren't lovely, but it's kind of like having a baby, I guess, if you will. Like, it's a lot of work, but it's no, I'm not comparing a podcast to having a baby. Don't say that, maybe, but like, no, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the first thing that popped in my head because I'm a mom, right? Like, I love my children so much, but they are also a lot of work, right? And so that's kind of the comparison is the podcast can be a lot of work, but also you may love it so much too, right? That it's not a job. It's not a job. It's just a thing that I'm so fucking lucky that I get to be doing right now, and I hope to be doing it for a super long time.
Love it. So what's been the biggest, how about the number one, well, I can guess this, but what's been the number one challenge and how have you overcome the success or whatever, the biggest barrier to your success as far as the podcast goes, and how have you been able to overcome it?
First thing in my brain is, did I believe in myself enough that I could do this? That was really tough. Tough to
really, you know, having the self-esteem. That's incredible.
That's the funny thing is I maybe it's funny. You see yourself so different than other people see you, you know? And so, yeah, I think, you know, getting in front of people or putting your message out to people when they may not agree with what you say and tell you that it's tough, right? Like, those moments can be tough, but also it's just, you know, having to remember that we don't all agree on everything, and that's okay. And that's actually the way I prefer it, right? I would hate to live in a world where everyone had the same thought processes and did the same things, and that would be boring, right? But yeah, just believing in myself that I was strong enough to kind of get through that part of it, to not care to care, but to not care. That's a whole thing that I had probably never done in my life before, right? Because I've never put myself out in front of a group of people. And my opinions, my thoughts, my beliefs, you know, the fact that I'm even talking about the Dave Matthews Band, which, you know, outside of my safety net of all the fans I know in the real world, that might not be the coolest thing to talk about to a lot of people, right? And so, you know, just remembering that I love what I do, I'm confident in what I'm saying, and it's okay to not agree with everyone or have the same ideas as everyone, and holding on to that, right? Like, just holding on to that at all time, because as your podcast grows, the more negativity that can come your way. And I didn't think about that, but I think that's true with everyone, right? Like, I don't think what you're saying is right, or okay, let's talk about that, right? So yeah, I think just learning.
The way I look at it, I want someone to say negative things about me and my podcast, because that means I'm out there. I mean, something's going right. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's like that thing we've always heard. You know, I always heard that famous people said was that, like, even bad press is good press, because that means people are talking about you, which is so true, right? Like, but yeah, I think that's just one of those things that I didn't know was coming, and then had to kind of wrap my head around that. So those parts were hard, but everything else, the other side of that weighed so heavily that part didn't even matter, right? Like, it just got to that point where that didn't even matter, because I could hear people were telling me, there were definitely more people telling me that what I was doing was helpful and needed, rather than like stupid, right? And so, yeah, just believing in yourself that you can do this, and that it can help you grow as a person and make you see life in different ways. And that's something that I really dig is when I change my mind because someone was able to tell me something from a different perspective. And I was like, oh my God, those moments, those aha moments where you would have never formulated that thought or that perspective. But because we're talking to other people, I have learned so much. It has just been such growth for me. So yeah, those are some little hurdles. I mean, I'm sure that again, with growth, there will continue to be hurdles, but I'm up for the challenge. And then just, having a support group. You have a support group. I have a support group. Just having people that you can reach out to and go, here's what I'm dealing with. Do you have anybody that I could reach out to help me or give me some words of encouragement? I think that you can't have enough people rallying around you, even if they don't believe in what your message is, just believing in you, right? Just believing in you and that you're chasing something that you love, that you believe in. And you just find out. It's such a sweet
I
thing.
love your story. You're a very good story. You have good energy. So almost time to land this plane. So let me ask a couple of questions. Do you have a landing page for your podcast, and what is it?
Do I have like a website? Yeah, I think I do. So that is something that Buzzsprout does give you as a customer is a website. Do I utilize that? Not at all.
Are you serious?
No. I don't. Should I? Yes, I know the benefits of that. Yeah. But that is something I don't know how to do either, right? And so that's kind of been why I haven't, is because I don't know how. And I don't know that my editor knows how. And so I think, if we see more growth, then that maybe I'll just like reach out to people and go, hey, can any, because I know people out there that could. But again, it's just asking for help. And I'll be honest, I struggle with that. I struggle with asking for help. And so there's a lot of things that I need to be doing. And the website is one of those things.
If there are any listeners or viewers out there who want to actually check out her landing page, you can Google Spotify and the space between podcast, and then you'll find it. She has a dedicated page on there. It'll have all her, I can't remember. It was like 100 and something podcast episodes. And it's pretty cool because you could go back all the way to the beginning of her podcast. I forgot when it was. And you could check out every single episode.
And what's beautiful about that is you can see the growth, right? Because there's been a million times where I've wanted to take down the first 30 episodes because it was shitty. But also it showed so much growth, right? Like, ooh, here's what I started out with, and then listen to my last and to see that growth. It's good.
Yeah. And then I didn't even know. It sounds like you have a YouTube site as well, and that would be the space between. Google the space between. I said Google. YouTube.
You can. On YouTube. Actually. I have Googled to see if it would pop up. You can literally just Google the space between podcasts, and everything I'm on everywhere, it will give you a direct link to. So I'm not hard to find. So definitely, if you love music, if you want to know more about the Dave Matthews Band, but specifically the fan side of it, think about that. Whoever talks about the fan side of music? I mean, there's been some great bands in the past, the Grateful Dead, like such a crowd following. Well, the Dave Matthews Band has one too. So if you want to hear more about what it's done to change lives, to save lives, definitely check out my podcast.
Love it. And it's a great podcast. It really is. And there's no joke about that, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Anything, how about in closing? We have like 3 minutes. In closing, what is it you'd want to tell someone who's, who we haven't already discussed, who wants to start a podcast or bring their podcast to the next level or whatever the case is? Because obviously you've grown your podcast successfully. I will still say successfully. Any last things we haven't gone over?
No, I mean, I think, again, just remembering what kind of message you're wanting to push out and just always keeping that focus, because it is really easy to get swayed. Well, what if, because a lot of people are going to come at you. What if you talk about this? What if you talk about this? What if you talk about this? Staying true to who you are. I was just in Vegas and someone said, hey, you should have Steve Lillywhite on your, and if that name doesn't ring a bell, like you should have all of these producers and, blah, blah, blah on your show. And I said, I love that idea. And I know that there are podcasts that would eat at that. But that's not the story I'm telling. Now, if Steve Lillywhite wanted to tell me his fan side, all about that. But staying true to what I'm doing, I am telling a different side of the band story. And just remembering to stay true to that, no matter what people want to hear. There are podcasts out there that will tell you those stories. But mine, just again, staying true to what the story you want to tell. I can't push that enough. Just remembering why you started this, the story that you want to tell, and staying true to yourself.
I guess it's true because look at your guests. You're right, because like the dude from, I forgot his name. The dude from Almanac, DMV
Yeah.
Almanac. He's
Yeah.
told the fan side. I guess you're right. Lily White isn't exactly the fan side. I
I'm
mean,
sure he's a
he is.
fan, but
He's only been 2 concerts or 1 concert as far as I know. But for Dave, believe it or not. But I guess I get your point. I understand your point.
yeah, staying true, because so many people want to. There are a lot of stories behind the Dave Matthews Band, and there are a lot of Dave Matthews Band podcasts. If you don't know that and you're into the music, check them all out. They're all wonderful, but they're all different, and that's what I love about them. Is
Totally
they're each about different things when it comes to this band. And my side of the story is just the fan story. How did we find this band?
Yeah.
Why are you still listening to this band after almost 33 years? And what does that look like? And so we have at least 35,000 stories, and I'm on a mission to collect every single one.
I know. That's a great. I'm so glad I got to have you on, because this has been fun listening to your story, what you know about podcasts, even though you don't think you know very much, but you do. It's been a good time. Thank you very much. And again, it's called The Space Between Podcast, and you can see it on Spotify. You can see it on Buzzsprout. You can see it pretty much on any place that you would listen to your podcast, or now we know on YouTube as well.
That's right.
Once again, my name is Kenneth French, vastsolutionsgroup.com. You've been listening to The Vast Voice. We're telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. Thanks again. I totally appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
Dude, nice.